Hello, and thanks for joining me at IT Home Lab Online. In this video, we're going to build on the Llama server that we set up in the last video and add two more services on top of it. We'll set up Open WebUI, which gives you a proper chat interface for your local models running entirely in your browser, and n8n, which is a self-hosted workflow automation tool. By the end of this video, you'll be chatting with your local language model from a browser, and you'll be ready to start your first automated workflow, all on your own hardware, with nothing phoning home. If you haven't seen my previous video where we set up the Llama on a Proxmox VM and connected it to Tailscale, it's worth watching that one first. The link is in the description. This video picks up right where that one left off. For this exercise, I'm using my Docker host, which is an Ubuntu virtual machine running on Proxmox. I already have the base Docker stack running from a previous video, Portainer, Watchtower, and a few other containers. We're going to add a new stack alongside this one with our AI services. Now, let's get started. Let's start by looking at what we're going to build. So I'll open up the compose file that I've already set up. Okay, so the first container that we need to set up is the database for n8n. So that's using a Postgres database. We'll do that right from the start, just means that it's a bit more reliable when it's under load, and it's a lot easier for doing backups and things. The Alpine version that you'll see here means that it's just using basically a very small footprint database, and we're going to name it n8n Postgres. We've got a couple of environment files that we're going to be calling on. This is also being linked into our Watchtower container, which does automatic updates of the images as they come out. If you're not using Watchtower, then you can certainly remove this label section along with the line underneath it. Here we're going to basically be setting up the very basics for the n8n database. This variable here will be in our environment file, so we'll go and have a look at that after this one. And just a few little data things that you need to set up. I'm storing all of my configuration under a standard that I use, so I'm using this variable for the base path. It'll be stored under n8n because it's related to that, and then it'll be the Postgres component. When I do the actual n8n container, that'll be under a data component. So I've also set a static IP address. What I've done this for is basically to avoid conflicts with other container stacks. It means that you can use the same ports for different container stacks. So the next service that we're looking at is the n8n service itself. Again, this uses the environment variables as well as the secrets. I'll explain a little bit on that later. It sets the user to your user, which is also defined in the variables. And this tells it what sort of database it's using, the name of the database, the port that it will connect to the database on. Here we've got the same password set that we have set higher up. We also need to generate an encryption key, which I'll show you within the environment variable section. We put in this webhook so that when we want to send triggers, it'll go to this address and it'll be detected. Time zone, fairly self-explanatory. I've added these extra built-in parameters. This basically lets you save zip files and things to the local path of your n8n server. This is what I mentioned earlier, where I use my standard configuration path. This is using for n8n, and it's nested under data because it's for the n8n itself, not the database. And this is dependent on the Postgres database running and also the Tailscale sidecar that we're looking at next. So I come down and have a look at this one. Fairly self-explanatory. This is the name that will appear in Tailscale. It needs to basically match the name of the container. Sorry, that's where it sets the host name, but that matches the container name from above. These are the ports that are going to be made available coming down here. So this variable is also set for your Tailscale authorization key. For your demo lab, you can set up a reusable key. In the real world, though, you would set that up as an individual key for each connection. Again, this is on the same network, so these are all on 172.20.4. Scroll up, and you've got the same there. So the next section is the Open WebUI. So again, using the same variable files, linking into the watchtower for automatic updates. Now this variable here is very helpful. So what I've done here is I've pointed this to my Llama server that I created in the previous video, and that accesses directly using port 11434. Here's the configuration path again. These paths are all defined. If you look at the official Docker containers, it'll tell you what the data paths are for these. Now we've set this network mode to use the Tailscale for Open WebUI. That's basically what ties it to the following container, which means that it's available over Tailscale. Similar to the one above, except this one is now for Open WebUI. And if we scroll down here, we'll also see the same host name. We're going to translate the ports here. This is basically an extra gateway. Not particularly necessary, but I've added it in just for convenience later on. And then we've got the networks defined at the very bottom. So this is set up as a bridge network, and it's using the 172.20.4.0 subnet range. So we'll exit out of there. Now I'll show you the environment files that we're using. So what we've needed to define here is the configuration path that I mentioned for my standard. We've got the Tailscale authorization key in there. Now we're using two environment files. The reason why we're doing that is because the second one will override the first one. So I can show here to you the Tailscale authorization key is just an example. It's not the actual key. And then in my media docker scripts secrets env secrets file, I can have the actual real values. This one for the n8n, you just need to generate some sort of a random password for the n8n database. And to generate the encryption key, if you just run this command here from your Linux prompt, that'll generate a key for you. It's not, you can generate that and it's basically replaceable. You do need to keep that though. It's linked directly to your n8n. So if you lose that key and have to recreate, then you won't be able to get access to any of your saved data. Now, what I like to do to basically bring this all up in a single package is I like to build a build script. So what I'll do now is I'll show you my build script. So basically what this does is defines the environment variables at the top. Okay, it basically, you can use this to rebuild as well. So if you need to make any changes to your compose file. So what I tell it to do first of all is to bring it down, which won't do anything if it hasn't already been brought up. Then it brings it up for the first time. What this does is creates all of the folder structure for the configuration folder. Then I bring it down again. So it will basically create that folder structure, shut itself down again. Then what you need to do is you need to take ownership of the configuration folder for n8n. If you don't do that, you run into problems later when you're trying to run it. It basically goes into a restart loop. I do the same thing for Open WebUI. I basically do this for all of my configuration containers. It just means that you don't run into problems with the automatic setting of root, which requires elevation to run your Docker containers. Then once that's done, I bring it up again. When I bring it up the second time, I give it a 60-second delay before it does anything else. While that's happening, I'll open up Tailscale on web interface, and I'll make sure that my Tailscale sidecars are working and that I've had n8n and Open WebUI added in there. And depending on how you set up your authorization key, it also gives me time to approve those if they aren't set to automatic approval. And then within that 60 seconds, that should start up. And once that's happened, it will then do the Tailscale HTTPS set up the certificate. So it will set up the Tailscale serve function, which means that you can then access the your containers through HTTPS on your web interface. Once that's done, these are a little bit moot, but they basically just check to make sure that the services are up and running. So we will go ahead now and run that build script. Make sure when you create your build script, you need to make sure that it's executable. So I've already done that, but what you would do is once you finished editing it, you would chmod +X for executable, and then the name of the script. I believe you need to do that as a sudo user as well. So that puts that X parameter to make sure that it's executable. Okay. Open up Tailscale. You can see n8n and Open WebUI have been added, so that was successful. I'll disable the expiry on those first. Okay. We come back here. Wait a few more seconds. Okay, so now Open WebUI. So what we'll do is we'll go into here, we'll copy the URL, and we'll go to HTTPS Open WebUI. Okay, click on Get Started. Now, you need to put in your details here and set a strong password. Okay, let's go. So you can see automatically that it has detected Llama 3.2 latest. It's pulling that from the Ollama server. And what we can now do is we can go into a chat here and we can say, what is the square root of 5,123? Not really an AI type question, but you can see, it's going to give us an explanation of how to do it. So there you go. That's Llama connected in through Open WebUI. So the next one we will open up is n8n. So we'll go to copy this URL. And again, need to register the first time. Set a strong password. I'll choose my own because it's my lab and I need to be able to not have to use a password manager. That will register you. We don't need to do that. Okay. Now, here you can give it details about how you want it to behave, basically. I'm just going to skip over that. You can also register for a free license key, and that will just unlock a couple of extra free features. And there you go. We're all set up. Now what we might do, just to demonstrate that it is connecting into Llama, we'll do create a new workflow. I'll just, actually before I do that, I'll just quickly show you. If you go back to personal here, you can see here's where it stores your workflows. You can set up credentials so that you can reuse those credentials later on if you want to connect into, say, an API key from another product, or you want to get it to send you push notifications through the pushover app or something like that. You can use that. This gives you a history of what executions have run. So you can schedule, set up scheduled executions so that they run on a daily, weekly, hourly basis, whatever works for you. What I've done in my live environment is I've set it to do daily backups of my Docker infrastructure. But we'll start off just by creating a simple workflow to demonstrate that we've got a Llama up and running. So what we'll do is first we will create a start from scratch. We'll add a node here. So what we'll do is search for HTTP request. Select that. Now we'll use post method, and we'll put in the address of our Llama server. So we can go back here. Copy that there. Okay. Now we need to open a body section, use JSON. Okay, so we'll tell it what model we want to use first. Actually, Llama 3.2 that we saw earlier. And we'll put in a prompt. Explain what Docker is in one sentence. Okay. Now, setting that stream to false at the bottom there, that's important. Basically, what it does is tells Ollama to return the complete response in a single object rather than streaming it back token by token, which makes it a lot easier to work with in n8n. Okay. Now we should be able to save that and execute. And you can see it's taking its time because it's a local running Llama server with not a lot of resources available. But you can see here in the response down the bottom, Docker is a containerization platform that allows developers to package, ship, and run applications in isolated, standardized, and portable containers that include everything needed to run the app, including dependencies, libraries, and other software components. So you can see that it's answered that for us. So that's the full AI stack running. Open WebUI for chatting with your local models, n8n with the Postgres backend for workflow automation, and all connected to Llama. You can obviously add your other models and things in here, and there are so many different functions you can put within your workflow. This is one of my favorites, connected to my pushover account to send me notifications directly. You can get it to read your Gmails when you receive emails from certain senders. Send you a response, a pushover, so you can immediately respond to it. A whole range of different features and things. You can get it to create, read, Google Sheets. So many possibilities here. So if you found the video to be helpful, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.